perfect wisdom
transcends all words and thoughts. Unborn and unceasing, it is the very nature of space. No matter wisdom mind experiences it. To this mother of Buddhas, of the three sons, I prostrate. May they become non-existent. May they be satisfied. May all the harms of tomorrow and non-humans and all obstacles be overcome. May they be May we be separated from harmful and unfavorable conditions. May we achieve favorable conditions and everything excellent. Through this fortune, may there be happiness and goodness. The ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers. The great mountains, forelands, sun and moon, seen as a little land, and offered thus. May all beings enjoy such pure land. Idam Guru Radha Madhavakam Yadam. I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I collect, by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I take refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of goodness that I collect, by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I take refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I collect, by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and no causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from their happiness. May all sentient beings dwell in equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from their happiness. May all sentient beings dwell in equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from their happiness. May all sentient beings dwell in equanimity, free from hatred and attachment.
Yes, please listen Dharma teaching, particularly teaching on emptiness. Teachings called Guide to Emptiness or Guide to the Middle Way, with positive motivation, please. With the motivation of the bodhicitta, with the motivation of the mind that wish to benefit every other sentient beings without exception. That is, we're saying that at the same time, again, reminding you that generating positive motivation in our mind is crucial, essential. Of course, I always ask you to do that at the beginning of our class here. At the same time, please do that in your daily life. In our daily life, as our day began, we get up in the morning, our mind already started to function, I'm already starting to function, whether this and that. Please to spend a little bit, a few minutes on generating positive motivation. Okay? Positive motivation. And then also this another important factor that I remind you each time is carrying the positive motivation throughout your day by recalling, by remembering time to time. Especially, I can especially use that positive motivation when we face difficult situation. That I have something when I face difficult situation, not I'm always using my samsaric motivation, samsaric way of thinking. And then last, end of our day, end of our class here, I always ask you to really engage into practice of dedication, which is a very, very essential tool to make sure that whatever virtues that we have gathered or accumulated, it really turn into the causes to become, the causes to be able to achieve actual wisdom, actual realization, not to waste. By dedicating, we preserve it, we protect it, all the virtues from wasting. If I engage accidentally into anger or any other delusions, may cause us to, destroy the virtues or good action that I have gathered. So the practice of dedication really protects all the virtues that we have gathered from losing, from wasting. So we're saying that please, in our practice here, our main principal motivation is a bodhicitta. And that motivation must start from precious human life and then impermanent of this present human life, the karma that we experience and accumulate, the nature of samsara that we constantly experience day and night. And we must develop the mind that wish to attain the liberation of delusion. Basically, we must have an experience that we generate, sees that it has no any meaning to really get into any types of deluded mind towards anybody, towards anything, towards anybody. And then with that, with that renunciation, and knowing every sentient being is our mother, remembering their kindness, wishing to repay the kindness, and great compassion, great loving kindness, extraordinary compassion, and finally the bodhicitta, the mind that wish to attain full enlightenment or to benefit every other sentient being. Isn't it? So that's our motivation. So we're saying that just as we generate that mind as a motivation, end of that, please say, as my motivation, I'm going to spend my day out of this motivation. So we are committing, we are dedicating the day that is about to come out of that motivation. Here I'm going to listen, I'm going to study, and I'm going to put as much as I can what I study out of that motivation. Okay, so that's our motivation. Out of that motivation, we will resume where we stopped last Monday. And yes, we are studying teachings called Guide to the Middle Way, Guide to Emptiness, and which has a 10th chapter. We are studying on the 6th chapter, 1 to 12, right? The approaching or actualizing the 6th chapter. Yes, the actual main subject matter of this, chapter is emptiness, is selflessness. And that emptiness, of course, as Buddha described in Candrakīrti here, also explained based on the two types of emptiness, in which the first one is the selflessness of the phenomenon, and the second one is the selflessness of person. Another term is emptiness of phenomena and emptiness of person, right? The two types of emptiness. So here we are still on the first emptiness, which is the emptiness of phenomena. And a question to us is, again, we already spoke just briefly, reminding you here. If I say, or if we say, what is emptiness of phenomena, or what is the selflessness of phenomena? And an answer to that is, of course, based on the person, like based on ourself, myself, we start 5 aggregates. Right? We use our 5 aggregates, starting from the form aggregates, feeling, consciousness, discrimination, and compositional factor. So basically, those 5 aggregates are the basis of the person. But those 5 aggregates are not person. Those 5 aggregates are phenomena, as we call dharma, like a tree, like a phenomena. So, and establishing emptiness on that 5 aggregates, what we are doing here is we are establishing the emptiness of phenomena, emptiness, the first emptiness here. So we will say now, the empty of 5 aggregates is the phenomena of emptiness, or emptiness of phenomena. Or we will say the selflessness of the phenomena is that. As well as any other external object, such as those 4 elements, and all the external object that is visible to us, like the water, air, earth, fire, and house, or any object that we see other than person, which are recognized in this, which are put into the category called the phenomena. They use that as a basis to establish inherent, empty or inherently existent, trying to establish the emptiness on that, and that becomes what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to establish the emptiness of phenomena, right? And the second question is now, what is the emptiness of the person, or selfness of the person? Is simply what we are establishing is still the same, which is the empty or inherently existent, but the difference is the base. The second one is the base of the person, like I, right? I as a person, using as a base to establish empty or inherently existent, and that what we are doing is establishing the emptiness of the person, right? The selflessness of the person. Again, please remember that selflessness, when you use that term, selflessness is, another terminology to describe about the emptiness. Another means emptiness and selflessness are synonym. Please don't think about when we say selflessness, that self, it does not referring or indicating to the person. It is simply an idiom word. It's an idiom word that should not be separated. Especially in the Madhyamika Prasangika school, when we say selflessness in Tibetan Sutra, they say Dhamme, right? Remember? I'm just reminding you, we went over there, but this is a crucial point to make sure that, because most of texts based on the Madhyamika Prasangika school, whenever they mention about the selflessness, it simply is an idiom meant referring to emptiness, nothing else. Nothing else. Dhamme. Right? Da is a self, me is a selflessness. So selflessness, dhamme, me is an emptiness. So in the Madhyamika Prasangika school, selflessness, right? Empty of the truly existent, empty of inherently existent, emptiness itself are all synonym, all, right? So that become object what we are trying to negate. When we negate that on person, and we are trying to establish emptiness of the person. When we try to negate them on phenomena, such as my 5 aggregates and others, and that becomes emptiness of phenomena. Please. So remember that. So, and here, coming back here, about establishing the selflessness of phenomena or emptiness of phenomena. Here is Candrakīrti is using the reason called Tashichawakapa, negating negating arising from the four extreme, right? So we went through all of them, right? So first one was arising from self, isn't it? And then second one is arising from others, and third one is what? Both. Both, yes, arising from both, and the fourth one is arising from without causes. And they are a group, they are a school who agree all of these four. They are a school who say things arise from self. They are a school who agrees, who says that they arise from the others. They are a school who say they arise from both. They are a school who say they do not arise from causes. But they are a school, all of them. That means they are a people, they are a being, they are some practitioners who agree. Each of these, here. So I have mentioned to you that the school who agree with the first one, that arising from the self, is a Tangjemba, right? Tangjemba are the school who is a school, and also the followers of the Tangjemba school agree that things or phenomena or any produced object arises from the self. And coming to the second one, arising from others, such as Madhyamika Savattantrika school agree with that. Mind-only school also agree with that. Then the Dodeba, or what? Savattantrika school also agree with that. In Chadama, that the lowest Vibhashika school also agree. All of these four schools agree that things do arises from others. These three are that. And then see the both, like arises from the both, like the Tangjemba agree with the both. Tangjemba will say, as I mentioned, the first school, the Tangjemba will say, again, they agree that all the things are arises from the both. And then the last one, which is Jumenicho, arising from the without causes, which is the fourth one, are agreed by the school called Jangpemba. Another non-Buddhist school, one of the non-Buddhists called Jangpemba. I think they call it Chakraya, something like that in Sanskrit. Tibetan we say the Jangpemba. That school is, have a whole chapter explaining about how things do not arise from the causes. So anyway, these are the four schools that will come later. The fourth, we haven't get there. But here now, speaking about the second one, arises from, not arises from the others, right? So, in that chapter, we are now at continually, speaking or establishing that reasoned. The verse number, I think we ended with the verse number 24. 34. Sorry.
Rinpoche, I don't know if it's, can I just ask you to just briefly review 34?
Sure.
My mind this, but feel, you can say no, I can.
Oh, no, it's
I have on 32.
no, 34.
Okay.
Here, again, let's review 34, but before that, please remember, when we talk about not arising from others, and then the school who agree with that, what makes them to agree? What makes those schools and those followers to say things or produce things that arises from others? And what makes our Madhyamika Savattantrika school to reject that view and try to establish things do not arises from others? And the point here is inherently existent and not inherently existent. Madhyamika Prasangika school, now in this school, Madhyamika Prasangika school, completely is denying that things exist inherently. Things exist. Tibetan say, I don't know in English which will be more proper for that word. Ranshin ji tuba. Ranshin ji tuba, like inherently existent. So, truly existent is different than inherently existent. But remember, this is just I would like to spend time a little bit more to make sure that we are really getting that here. Inherently existent and truly existing. Let's stick these two words. There are many, but let's stick with these two words. Madhyamika Prasangika school, where we are now, see these two are exactly as the same. No difference. It's only the different term. Inherently existent and truly existent. Let's move to the next school. Even in the Madhyamika school, not the Madhyamika Prasangika, now Madhyamika Swatantrika school, when you mention these two words to them, they look at as a completely opposite. Inherently existent and the truly existing are completely different in that school. Madhyamika Swatantrika school will say, oh, things do not exist truly existing. Yes. But if you ask them, are things, do they exist inherently? And they will say, absolutely. I think it's here. So that makes now here, not because of truth, they agree, not because of truly existent. It's only because of not inherently existent or agree inherently existing make difference between all the other schools agreeing with arising from others or not arising from the others. Madhyamika Prasangika school now here where we are studying is clearly asserting that things do not arise from others simply because they do not arise from inherently existing cause. And then going to all remaining lower class, Madhyamika Swatantrika school, mind-only school, and the student school, and Vaibhashika school, all of those says things are inherently existent. Produced things are inherently existent, and so they do exist or they do arise from the others. So here, because of that, Candrakīrti in this chapter try to really indicate that things do not arise from the inherently. Things do not arise from inherently again and again here. So where we are now, the chapter number 34 here. Again in Candrakīrti in here, directly negating that, nothing, including things or including the produced objects do not arise from inherently existing, do not arise inherently. So any school at the same time here also Madhyamika Prasangika also bringing a little bit different term here called Rangitsini Jituba. How do you say that in English?
Established by its own characteristics.
Yes, established or exist?
Tuba, I would say here established.
Established. So this is another term which here you see in the Tibetan, the beginning of that 34 verse. The Rangitsini Tenjuna, Rangitsini here. In English, you see if the dependent exists by their own, if the dependent exists by way of their own characteristic. So existing characteristically, can you say that? No, okay. Anyway, so this is also another term which is the same as how Madhyamika Swatantrika school view, like Rangitsini Jituba and Ranshin Jituba. Both are synonym too. And Madhyamika Swatantrika also agree with that, but they will say, yes, things do exist inherently. Also, things are established. Things are established by their own, by way of their own characteristics. They do, those Madhyamika Tantrika school say that here. So in this verses now, without going to one each word that we, as we did last week. So coming to here, that is here, what Candrakīrti is pointing the first line as well as the second line in here. What Candrakīrti is saying in this line here. Let me try to get a little shorter word to come to that. Here, if things exist inherently, it can also fall that the wisdom of meditative equipoise, which realizes emptiness directly, can become causes to destroying. Can become causes of destroying things that exist. The summarizing point is that and let me repeat that, if things exist inherently, meditative equipoise wisdom that realizes emptiness can become causes of destroying things. This is the what Candrakīrti's debate in that verses. And the question comes here, how? Here. Yes, because you are the one who is pointing to me, to asserting that, saying things exist inherently. Okay, things exist inherently yesterday. Things exist inherently previously, as you say that. But now here, but the meditative equipoise wisdom realizes things are empty of inherently existence. Things are empty of inherently existence. That is realizes by the meditative equipoise wisdom, that wisdom realized that. So here, my question, what Candrakīrti is saying, yes, now things exist inherently previously, but the meditative equipoise realized things do not exist inherently. So here now, at this time, by the wisdom realizing things do not exist inherently, so here falls into causing to destroy things as exist inherently. So, or otherwise, what Candrakīrti also is saying, if you remember, if you look at the second line, says that right? It says that then things are destroyed by being negated. That's what I'm just saying to you here. Then things are destroyed by being negated. This is here. Point. What I just said it in different direction, in a different way, means that things are destroyed. And things are destroyed by being negated. Here, example I say here. If we are having some conversations. We are having some very interesting conversation. Suddenly some people came and asked us a very complicated questions. And it takes time to answer, and then it basically, what caused that by the person destroyed our interesting conversation. It was there, and it become non-existent. That isn't it? It become. You just get destroyed by that question, and so then we could not go back to here. Same thing here. What Candrakīrti is saying, according to Madhyamika Tantrika school, you say that yes, things as you say they exist inherently, but at the same time now, okay, what happened? The wisdom of meditative equipoise realizing empty of inherently existent. So are you going to say they do exist previously and get destroyed by that wisdom? No. So it means that it used to exist inherently, or it do not exist inherently now. So in that means meditative equipoise become causes of destroying it. This is the point what Candrakīrti is bringing here.
Sorry, just two quick questions, Rinpoche. So back to inherently existing and truly existing, are they full synonyms, or is truly existing mean conventional truly existing?
No, truly existing and conventional existing are synonym in the Madhyamika Prasanghika school.
Okay.
And they are not synonym in the Madhyamika Tantrika school.
Thank you. And then with this, what you're doing now, last week I think Can you explain again Sabu Shiba, ultimate nature? It was part of this verse here, I think. Sabu Shiba, or ultimate nature, maybe the first verse of the dependent exist by way of their own characteristics.
Where do you see that in English, Tibetan?
I don't. You said it to us last week.
What is it?
I think it's called Sabu Shiba, ultimate nature.
Sabu Shiva. Maybe your Tibetan is different than mine. We'll wait. I don't remember what you were thinking.
Yeah, the same, 34.
Sabu Shiva. I don't see that in here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Not a problem. Anyway, so that's a one. You see, one point, and I made it. Remember, if you remember, I made it for you that like reasoning the way we do. So you can remember that. That will be easier for you to capture that line. You say something?
Yeah, Rinpoche, I'm curious, how does this understanding correlate to, like, if you have fire, you use water to extinguish it, to destroy it, is there a correlation between things and their opposites neutralizing themselves?
What do you mean?
In other words, like, we know that the opposite of fire is water, so when you bring them together, they wipe it out. So what you're saying is that to understand the wisdom of meditative equipoise, realizing emptiness, that understanding will remove any understanding of inherent existence. So it requires the understanding in order to remove it.
I want to use that understanding of inherently existing. Again, here, meditative equipoise, it is like, see, inherently existent and not inherently existent. And one is understandable, one is not understandable because it doesn't exist. The inherently existent can be grasped by the mind or grasped by mind, which our self-grasping ignorance does. But again, its grasping object of that mind, which is inherently existent, do not exist actually. So it cannot be realized or understood by any wisdom or any mind. Yes, we can talk about what does it mean, and what does mean by inherently existent, and what does how does self-grasping ignorance grasp at it, and what does it do? So these all things can be described, but again, inherently existing is not exist. So it is not an object that can be even realized by any mind, including Buddha's wisdom too. So meditative equipoise do realizes empty of inherently existence. Say this, everything or anything are empty of inherently existence. And so I don't know, you're pointing it from here. In this case, it's simply trying to negate about the statement are made by the Madhyamika in South Africa school saying things exist inherently. So Madhyamika Prasangika school and using this in their school, Candrakīrti is in just trying to clarify to those schools, yes, of course, internally or indirectly or directly, Candrakīrti is really pointing that it do not exist inherently. But again, according to your view, according to your agreeing, it shows that something exists early, and then now it doesn't exist because meditative equipoise came to realize it do not exist. In this case, the mind, that wisdom, particularly that wisdom, is turning into the cause of destroying it. Simply as that. So
does it work the same way that an antidote works?
Yeah, it is trying to. It is turning into the antidote to destroying that agreement. Yeah. It is turning into the antidote to agreeing with that. Yes.
But Rinpoche, I think maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm misinterpreting what Miriam is saying, but the point here, I think you're trying to tell us is, it's trying to wipe out the wrong view of another school. That's the point of this, right?
You can say that. But not, again, we're not really attacking or anything that school. We are just basically trying to remember that inherently existent, whether even trying to follow the Madhyamika Prasangika schools, I do have that image in my mind, and I still grasping that the things are inherently existing, and even I'm not considering following the Madhyamika Swatantrika school, I still have self-grasping ignorance. I grasp it and myself as inherently existing. So here, Candrakīrti again giving again and again to us to really able to establish that understanding. Anyway, so the third line, again here saying, see, basically Candrakīrti again, last two lines says, the things do not exist inherently, because if it exists inherently, if things exist inherently, and then again, what point I mentioned to you earlier, then meditative equipoise, wisdom meditative equipoise can follows the becoming of cause of destroying it, and that is not correct. That is not correct. So finally, last word in that says that means things do not exist inherently. So summarizing in that case, in this 34th verse, it says, if things exist inherently, then meditative equipoise falls into cause of destroying things that exist. Are we good with that? Okay, now next.
Thank you.
Next verse. Kanjin wobo deda namche na. Tenyi daji ngwende tsurutu. Nenyi mayi techiri jirinji. Tanyi dena number chemi chas. Here, in English, verse number 35 here. Since if these things are analyzed, no object is found on this side of things, away from the nature of thatness. Woodley, nominal truth. The nominal truth should not be analyzed. Right? Woodley, nominal truth should not be analyzed. So again, this statement again, Candrakīrti is giving another argument to the school, Madhyamika Swatantrika school, who agree that who always agree saying things exist inherently. So now look at that line. I will go word by word here. Kangchiril, right? Kangchiril. This means since. In here they translate the since. Sometimes you can say because, or some here you say since. Mobo is like things, and dida means those, right? Those things. Mobo dida. So in here it says if things, these things, and in English you see analyze. You see Tibetan is called namchena, right? Analyze it. So when I hear this is the meaning here, if these things, if we analyze over these things by saying that, if these things exist, if they exist inherently, how? Saying, if they exist, arises from self, or they arises from others, or they arises from. If we uses this kind of investigation here, it's not talking about general, in a conventional analyzation. It's talking about analyzing on ultimate meaning. So here, if things are analyzed in English, and Tibetan say, right? If we analyze on the things, saying that are they arises from self, are they arises from the others, or something like, if we analyze it in that way, Teni daje ngone tsuru teni, right? Teni means tekonani, which means it's emptiness. Like in English, here they uses thatness. Right? Here in English, here they uses the thatness. Thatness. Teni, emptiness. Teni. Dachen in here is a nature. Nature. So it means the nature of emptiness or nature of thatness. Tingi dachen. Get it? Got it? And then mu is a things. Thing. So speaking about the things being in the nature of non-existent inherently. When we say tingi dachen mu, right? Tingi dachen mu means things being in the nature of empty of inherently existent. They are always in that nature. Things are always in the nature of, empty of inherently existing. Things, remember at the very beginning we learned that things always have within them, there is a nature of emptiness. Everything carries the nature of emptiness. So here, so le is like a from. Tsurutus means other than, like other than. And here in English uses maybe away from. They use it away from. So you can see how which works better in English, but literally in Tibetan use means is that le is from, tsurutu is other than that, right? Le tsurutus. Next line. Never is like remain. Remain in this being. Let's say abide. Never means found or obtained. So what does it mean in here? Is what abide, what found means. And let's say before I say that, let's look at the next one. It says that mahi means not. Right? Mahi means not obtained in abiding. In what? Truly existing. So abide in what? Abide in truly existing. Right? Abide in truly existent. So the things are in the nature of empty of inherent existing. They are not in the abide. They could not find abiding in the truly existing other than being in empty of inherent, being in the nature of empty of inherent existing. So if you go back in Tibetan, it works as you use English. Now I'm finding that in myself. So so here, so up to that, I will not get to teach and get. We'll stop there here. So when we make a full sentence here, what Candrakīrti is saying here, let's sit here. Let's try to analyze on things. Beginning of this line says that let's try to analyze on things by saying, are they inherently existing as a one, or are they inherently existing as a many, or we can say, do the things exist or arise from other, arise from self? In that analyzation, what we can find, we will not able to find their abiding in truly existent. What we can find in that kind of process of analyzation, only being in the nature of inherent existent. Other than that, here, right? Surodu. Other than that, from away, in English they use it in here, from away. Right? Now if I read that English translation, let's do it again. Since if things are if these things are analyzed, no object is found on the side of the things away from the nature of thatness. Right? Is getting that meaning? So when we analyze, we won't be able to get things being inherently existing as one. However I analyze in that, I won't be able to get things being inherently existing as a many. Or however I analyze, I won't be able to find they arise from others or self. What I find only is being in the nature of inherent existence. Only that. So this is what Candrakīrti is pointing here. So here, right? Away from that nature. So now go back to Tibetan here. In third line. Ne, ni, ma, ni. Right? So not binding in that nature. Ne, ni, ma, ni. Te, chir means because of that. Te, chirna is specifically pointing that because of this reason, because of this situation, not finding other than nature, being in the nature of emptiness, right? Other than that, the children now, jiden chi means jiden is the woodly. Now you see, I think you see that in English, woodly. But I don't see te chil because of that in English, but it doesn't matter. Jiden chi, right? Here, like in the woodly, tanye is nominal. Tanye in the last line at the beginning. Tanye is nominal, and then you see then, right? Then is a demba, which is a truth, a nominal truth. Nominal truth. And another word is nominal truth and conventional truth are synonyms. Synonym. We Tibetan call kunzok demba for conventional truth, and nominal truth called tanye demba, as you see here now. Tanye demba. That is synonym. Nominal truth, tanye demba. Tanye den las, right? La is in or to. Number chemicha. Number chemicha. I mean, number is aspect. Cheva means analyzing. So, che, bija is don't do. So, don't analyze, how do you say that in English? Woodly truth should not be analyzed as, like the way we did at the beginning of the first line. Just, either they exist as inherently exist in one or two or many, or arise from self and other than any other. Basically what Candrakīrti is pointing here is saying that they should not be using as that way. Point here, this is what Candrakīrti is speaking here. In Madhyamika Prasangika school, when we talk about things, conventional things like a book, this is a book. When you say, he is such and such a person, or this is a table, that is a house, and this is. So when you establish, as we impute things, different names on a different objects, and here what Candrakīrti is saying, the Madhyamika Prasangika school will simply accept in that term and agree, this is a book, this is will not investigate on saying, is there this exists inherently, or whether this exists arise from others, whether they arise from that. We don't do that kind of investigation, and that if we do that kind of investigation, it becomes unfindable. Example here, let's look at the common one what Madhyamika Prasangika usually uses the person. Our basis of the imputation of the person is the 5 aggregates. So, and on that, as using that 5 aggregates as a basis, we impute person over it, and that we will call as a person, simply. And now, if we go, this is the way how Madhyamika Prasangika is saying. This is simply how conventionally we establish this is a person. And now, instead of being satisfied with that, if we try to go over saying, is that person exists? Is the form aggregate is a person? or if is the aggregate of the consciousness is that is a person. And if we investigate in that way, and instead of staying in conventional establishment, we are going over into the ultimate investigation. And that becomes unfindable. And that becomes, we cannot even able to establish where the person is. Where the person is. Could not able to find. So that's why here Candrakīrti was pointing in here that about any nominal truth, which means the conventional truth, simply accepted based on finding based on their qualified basis of the imputation, other than going into analyzing on ultimate truth.
So he's making this point because he doesn't want people to fall into nihilism, right? He doesn't.
That's not the point. Here is what he is saying is, if you agree that things exist inherently, then I can say that Tibetan very easily, but I'm finding it difficult to say that in English. It's Tibetan, we call it as a, in this one is Tanya Demba Rinpoche to Tao. Tanya conventional, Demba
or
nominal truth. Tanya Demba Rinpoche to Tao. Ripa is the reasoning, Che is analyzing, Su means bearable. I don't know, it doesn't work in English. Tawa means follows or becomes.
Right.
So here what Candrakīrti in the Madhyamika Swatantrika school really talk about saying it, if we investigate on any conventional object, whether this or this and this and that, anything is unfindable. Anything is unfindable. You look at the person, right? The person is, if you say, he is Scott, then I would say, is that, if I pointed in your face, is that face is a Scott? If that hand is a Scott, if his mind is a Scott, if his body is a Scott, if I investigated on any aggregates, of course I will answer, I will only get an answer, is no. Or that is not Scott, that is not Scott, that is not Scott. So look at any conventional object now. Here what is it? Unfindable. Unfindable in investigation over any conventional object about finding it itself. This is another description of one of the main descriptions of the emptiness here. Not able to find a conventional or a nominal object or truth, such as person or vase or book. Look at that book now. If I say, is this a book? I will not say it is not. And if that is a book, no. If we investigate on it, other than if somebody tells you this is a book, yes, this is a book. If I simply leave it at, yes, it's done. I found this book now, it's there. But if instead of staying with it, I try to investigate on going into parts, trying to find the books on it, could not able to find it. And here what Candrakīrti is saying is that Madhyamika Prasangika school, Madhyamika, this is which school now we are? Tenjirwa, right? Tenjirwa, Madhyamika Prasangika school we are now. Madhyamika Swatantrika school, they will say, yes, things are findable because they inherently existed. Because inherently existent. Like look at a person now, right? Person. As a person, when we talk about finding where, Madhyamika Prasangika and Madhyamika Swatantrika is a big difference. Madhyamika Prasangika in our school in here will say, no, the body is not a person, head is not a person, hand is not a person, but yes, since they are qualified basis of imputation, yes, if my hand gets hurt, I get hurt. It's correct. When my mouth eat a delicious food, yes, I eat a delicious food. Because they are qualified basis of imputation. Yes, other things are, other than my 5 aggregates are not a qualified basis for imputation. The person or I, because anything happens, I will not say I did this, I happened, it doesn't happen, because they are not qualified basis of imputation. Look at anything now. We have to have a basis to impute person, glass, bowl, table, anything. Without the basis, we cannot be able to find any object. So in this case, now Madhyamika Sastantrika school says yes, they are findable. And question come here is where the person, and then they will point to the aggregates of the consciousness. Madhyamika Sastantrika school is the person, the aggregate of the consciousness are the person of you and me and that. Then when you come to Madhyamika Sastantrika school, they say that consciousness is not person. Like that. So, which is also true. The consciousness is not a person in here. Yes, it is one of the most important basis of imputation of the person, but it's still not a person in Madhyamika Satantrika school here. But the Madhyamika the Ranjupa, you would say only because they come to that idea is because inherently existent. Inherently existent. Inherently existent. So here, what Candrakīrti is, denying to them that existing of inherently, saying if things exist inherently, and then it has to be findable in that investigation. Let's put it that way. Maybe this is the easiest term to get in. Things should be findable when you investigate.
And because, forgive me for...
Yes, please.
And because nominal objects aren't, they are not proper bases for investigation.
Yes, you can also say they are not a proper basis to investigation because it's unfindable.
They're merely nominal.
Yes, they're merely nominal, yes. They are just, and they are here what we say, the main answer is given by, then how they exist just imputed by name and conception mind. This is the actual line that Madhyamika Prasangika described here. Like example here. Ming, tope, tatsam. Ming is a name, topa is conception mind, tapa is imputed, and some is just. Just imputed by mind, name and conception. Here, example, this piece, this table, very beginning, it was not a real table, it was the pieces of the wood. And somebody gathered it, somebody made it, and then name, and then see that the pieces of that was the basis of the imputation. And out of it, he developed the conceptual mind on viewing that table, and he made that table and laid a name as a table. Table. So since then, this kind of things appear as a table. So here, everything there's a name was given over that object, using that anything as a basis to and given the name, and then since then it become it. If someone have named this table at that time as a chair, if very beginning, if someone has gathered all of them as a name as a chair, since then.
But Rinpoche, this is only due to the type of reasoning you're using for that. If I have wisdom realizing emptiness, I'm going to see it as such, correct?
Before that. You come to see before that, before we come to realize emptiness. This is in the process of coming to realizing emptiness. Where we are now is, our aim is the realization of emptiness. And all these are method. All these are method for practice and training our mind into that and finally getting the realization of emptiness. If we have realized emptiness, we don't have to go home to this. If I have realized emptiness truly, if I have developed the method of equipoise, and I myself don't have to, maybe if somebody has to learn, I can share that, you can share that. So, for example, I will not investigate, the book that you have at home, the food that you have at home. I know what I have in my table. I don't have to go. So something, yeah. Anyway, so here, coming back to this point again, you see what Candrakīrti is really pointing in here is that if things exist inherently, it follows that the nominal truth or conventional truth can be analyzed and found in that investigation. I don't know whether I'm putting in the proper word or not. So
can I say like in conventional truth, there's things that objects cannot be analyzed because they are imputed by name and conception mind, and cannot be analyzed same way as ultimate truth. Ultimate truth.
say it again.
The nominal, conventional
Sure.
are imputed by name and conception mind. And so, between words I'm not clear. So, we cannot analyze with the ultimate, we cannot analyze, or we cannot, analyze with the ultimate truth.
Yeah.
Because the ultimate truth is different, I don't know what.
The reason again here, what Candrakīrti pointed here is, we cannot find anything other than being in the nature of emptiness. That's the main reason.
Right.
That's why I see, if I made the sentence, another like a reasoning this line, we will say that, the nominal truth, not in nominal truth as a subject, we will say are not, should not be analyzed by the worldly being in ultimate points, ultimate meaning, in ultimate meanings, because if any worldly beings investigated on that about that point, they will not find anything other than, they will not find them being in a truly existent. They will not find these things being in the nature of truly existent, only find being in the nature of emptiness. So that's the reason why Candrakīrti brought it. Okay?
Clear.
Yeah, good. So, of course, to keep us in our mind, to keep in our mind here is, again, we should remember that saying they do not exist inherently because of that, or any phenomena are not able to find with the reasoning when we do the investigation on those nominal truths. Yeah. Okay. Now next, verse 36. English now, by the reasoning on the occasion of thatness, production from self and others is, what is that?
Inadmissible.
Inadmissible, since by that reasoning it is also inadmissible nominally. By what is production established for you? Okay. Did I read the proper? Yeah, correct. This is again same as, see, 34 and 35, now this is 36.
Yes.
quite same statement based on coming here. First one, 34 will be saying, if things exist inherently, meditative equipoise wisdom can become cause of destroying things existent. 34. 35th, again, if things exist inherently, then nominal truth can be findable in that investigation. Something like that. You get that meaning. Maybe I'm not using the proper English, but you're getting that. Now this one says, this one is again, if things exist inherently, and this will happen. Let's go. Teni kapsu ripa kangshiki, teni, right? Teni is a economy, which is also darkness, means emptiness. Kapsu means occasion. So now English they use as the occasion of darkness. The occasion of darkness. Teni kapsu means is occasion of analyzing or investigating on a meaning of emptiness. Meaning is that. Teni kapsu means occasion or during investigating or analyzing on a meaning of emptiness. Teni kapsu. Ripa kanshiki. Ripa is reasoning, like reason, right? Like reasoning. Kanshiki means kan means whatever. Yeah, whatever. Right? Kanshi. Here by the reasoning, they didn't mention about kanshi. So in here, meaning is what? Whatever the reason that I have used early. This is what Candrakīrti is pointing out. Whatever reason that I have used early to negating, he have used many reasons that negates arising from self, arising from others, number of reasons. So here saying that whatever reason that I have used early, saying that, see, ripa kangshi, he, by, so by whatever reason that I have used previously, teni kapsu, ripa kangshi, he, right? Teni kapsu, ripa kangshi, he is a da is the self, again arising from the self. Da, dang is end. Shen is other layers from jewa is arising. So arising from self, arising from other. Whom? Body, things, any things, right? So here's in the any things arising from self and others, like that. We should put that anything in here. It means that things, produce things arising from others, arising from self. Jewa, rik mimba is not proper. Ripa means ripa is right or correct or proper. Mimba means not. So he says the production from self and other. Here says that inadmissible. This means incorrect?
It means that,
Yeah.
not exactly, but I mean, the sense is that reason wouldn't allow it. Right?
Okay, so it's not a ripa mimba. It's a ripa is a proper or right, or so then mimba is not. It's not proper. It's not right. So it's not So rather rigmipa not. Next line you see that rikte means again reasoning. Right? Rik is a ripa, which is the reasoning again. Ripa. So here's in the previous reason. This is also mentioning about the previous reason that what is a karji rik is a ripa, which is the reason. So previous reason, te means by. Right? Te means by. By that previous reasoning, by the previous reasoning, rite, tanya tuyang. Tanya tuyang means conventionally, and here they use it as a nominally. So same, like nominally or convention. Tanya tuyang. Rik mimba means again not correct. Rik mimba means not correct. What is not correct? Arising inherently is not correct. We should put that here. Say that by shows that what shows by the previous reasoning shows that things things do not arise inherently, conventionally. Another word is arising inherently, conventionally is not proper. So here it says that, here it says is also inadmissible nominal, right? So you get that. So read the Tanya Dunyang, read in pairs. So Rimin Pe, you see the last word in Tibetan in third line, so the Pe, because of they are not proper, because they are not inadmissible nominally. Because of that, then last line says that Chöji Jewa Kangi Yimachurs. Chöji, Chö means you in this case, so it's referring to those things like produce things. Chöji of Jewa is arise, means arise inherently. It means that arising inherently. If you look at arising inherently, Kangi means by what? By what? Yeah, English do have that, by what? So here it says that by what valid mind, by what, and a valid reason. Kangi is Yimba Churur means Yimba in this case is are, Chur means become. So in English what you have here, by what the production established for you. So I mean here we have to say by what the arising from others, arising inherently established for you. So we do need to add, we are not negating again, you very much know that, of course we know that again, Candrakīrti is not negating that they arise. Candrakīrti is negating they do not arise inherently. And Candrakīrti is saying that because of all these three statements, three lines from this verse, and here saying is, how, by what mind, by what reason can say, things arise inherently. So it means basically saying it is very clear that things do not arise inherently. So, basically Candrakīrti in this case is saying is that there is no any, we make the sentence saying that person or form or body as a subject, like changing, and we say that what do you have? What do you have either valid mind or valid reason to establish that they exist inherently? What do you have? Basically, so you don't have that, any of there's any valid mind and any valid reason to be able to establish those exist inherently. And here he gave the reason. But these are here he gave the reason. Then he gave the reason, says that right. The first three lines totally give us that reason to prove and to establish that any of these phenomena or any of these things could not be able to establish existing as inherently.
That one word that was translated is what valid mind. Any of these things exist inherently.
No, what valid mind can help to establish things exist inherently.
Okay.
So it means basically Candrakīrti, there's no any valid mind, there's no any valid reason can able to establish it. Right?
He doesn't actually say that in the Tibetan. It seems like he's saying...
It says that. When you read that, Chöji Jewa, Kangi means by what? It means it is referring,
Right.
indirect, it is there, it has to be there, either reason or mind. So when you read the commentary of Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary, he brought valid mind and valid reason both under by what. So by what? Anything to say, we have to have right or wrong can be established by having a valid mind and valid reason.
It's inferred.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Clarification for his mind. His mind is a conceptual mind. It's not considered valid mind.
No, here. Valid mind not necessarily mean not conceptual mind. There are many conceptual mind being as a valid mind. Valid mind. Tsema. It's called Tsema is valid mind. Is it in English? Valid. And valid mind, there are many valid mind. When we bring all together, they fall into two categories. One is a Musun Tsema and one is Jiva Tsema. Musun Tsema is valid mind, what do you call it? Direct valid cognition, yes. That's a Musun Tsema. That cannot be conceptual mind at all, because it is a perceiving object directly without having any reasoning, without using any reason. It's just perceiving the way my eye is perceiving this book clearly. I'm not using any reason, any example, any generic image to perceive it, to realize it. So that's called Musun Tsema. And another one is called Jiva Tsema. Jiva Tsema is what? Inferential.
Subsequent. Literally subsequent.
Inferential value,
Yeah.
inferential cognition. Jiva Tsema. J is after. Pa is established. Tsema is a valid mind. So it means after what? After reasoning, after using some investigation, after using some example, then I develop valid mind. That is called inferential valid cognition. That is conceptual mind. Because it used a lot of reason and saying, example, see, oh, look at that tip of the mountain. There must be fire there. And I said, how can? Because there's a smoke coming, and there's some sign, there's a smell of smoke, there's all of that. There must be. So I'm using that reason, and then through that investigation, I will develop mind that realizes or that sees, yes, there is a fire in that mountain. So that mind we call Jiva Tsema, inferential valid cognition. It is a valid mind, but it is a conceptual mind. So conceptual mind, not necessarily not valid mind. There are many mistaken and wrong mind as it being conceptual mind. So conceptual mind in general, we cannot say is valid or not valid. Within the conceptual mind, there are also valid mind. Within the conceptual mind, there are many wrong mind, such as self-grasping ignorance. Self-grasping ignorance is a conceptual mind. It's not a valid mind. It's conceptual mind, yes, it is there. So conceptual mind, within the conceptual mind, it's there. The only point come here is that conceptual mind, we call Nagarjuna. That's the main definition of the conceptual mind. Tokpa is the conceptual mind. So here, whatever the object that it perceives, maybe perceiving correctly, maybe perceiving incorrectly, or wrongly, or correctly. However, it always perceives with the generic image of sound, generic image of that object. Da, the sound. Da. Dun is a dunji, which is the generic image of meaning. The generic image of that object, generic image of that sound. Derung means like mix. One of the example I use is to use, using our glasses, perceiving the things through the glass. But if I have some dirt on my glasses, it gets mixed with my it gets mixed with the realizing that object. Similar like that. So it's that's a conceptual mind. It could be wrong. Yeah, it could be valid too.
God in this case means like a term, right?
Term, yeah,
More of a term.
Term, yeah, it's term that you have heard.
Right.
Sometimes people will tell you, oh, vase. Okay, what is a vase? And vase, this and this. So you have the term and description that you have heard about the vase, and you have not realized yet. Now you are going over that, and then this is called like a dachi. So, how do you re-interview? Oh yeah. So the valid mind, when you say by what valid mind, it's like could be direct cognition or inferential cognition. Both are valuable to trust, because as long as it is a Muslim tsema or Java tsema, when they establish things, yes, because they are valid mind. Tsema, like means in Tibetan we call tsema, means it's a term, it's the idiom. Means is what? It is a line to measure, saying whether it's there or not. That's called tsema. If there is no valid tsema, then I cannot say yes. So that's if there is a tsema of that, so then yes, I can measure now. Okay, so this is where we are now. Okay, okay, now we'll move one more verse, 37. Okay, this is now example. This is example. And the meaning will come from the next verse, only 2 lines from the next line. So we'll use that too, okay? So then the example and the meaning completes together. Here. Right? Okay, so now 6 line we read. Now please look at the English part. And we read now, empty things such as a reflection that depend upon the collection are also unknown. Just as their awareness of their aspect is generated from the empty reflection and so forth. Next line please. Next 2 lines from 38 verse. So although all things are empty, they nevertheless generate from that emptiness. This is kind of like answering to that argument that other made. It assumed that Candrakīrti we've been reading all this Candrakīrti's negating if things exist inherently, this will fall, this will fall, this will fall. Now in here, what is almost like, see, Madhyavi Swatantrika school and only other school came here and then replying to Tengyurwa, Madhyavi Prasangika school, saying that no, things must exist inherently. If I don't exist inherently, if you don't exist inherently, how I will function? This is what they're challenging. How I will function, how I will arise, how I will move, how flower will arise or grow if they don't exist inherently. So, if I made that point in a way, just keep it simple in your mind. This is the challenge that others, saying that if things do not exist inherently, they cannot function, they cannot arise, they cannot produce. So also, effect cannot arise, cause cannot produce if they don't exist inherently. This is what they say. And then now this one is answering to no, there is no need to. Here now what Candrakīrti says here, now you read it here. Mobo Tongba. Mobo is things, right? Things. Tongba is empty. Empty things. Empty things. Mainly referring to what? Referring to those what term term we ended up using last time called Zumba, like a Zumba false object. Zumba, Demba and Zumba. We did talk about that last time. I don't remember which term that we choose to use. Deceptive object? No.
Deceptive, yeah.
Did we use that?
Yeah.
Deceptive object? Anyway, so here, Mogotomba is empty things, means saying things they are not, truth. The things they are not, things they are deceptive. Yeah, Zumba. Mogotombas. Such as Sunge. Now, Sunge is what? Reflection. Right? Reflection. La and with La is just simply helping wood. Sopa is a so forth. There are many things like reflection, right? When we get jaundice, and I would say there's a yellow punch, yellow cloud. This is also one of the so forth. When all those objects are including here called like these things, right? So Sumye La Sopas. Next line you see now here. Chok La Tönam. Chok is collection. Chok, like Chokpa, collection. So La is in. Töva means a dependent. Tö is a dependent. Töva. Nam means plural, like things that depends on collection. Töva, namsa. Madhapaya means unknown. Madhapa means unknown. Yang means even. Min means not. So they are not unknown. Means they are known in every one of us. So means that they are not unknown in the world. Here now, point here is the reflection depends on mirror and also face, right? They have to have some mirror here, and I have to look at my face to that. Two things, there are many others, but at least there are two things, then the reflection of my face will appear, right? So collection of face and a mirror, our object is dependent by reflection. So reflection is dependent on mirror and the face. Same as with any other object you go ahead. Look at any mistaken mind that I developed. Any mistaken mind. Any mistaken mind you develop. Look at before that the object which as like a reflection, as I use also the yellow conch, yellow cloud. This is also like just like reflection arises from my eye and the cloud and being jaundice. I getting affected by the jaundice. And so these collection as an object that the aspect of the yellow conch are dependent on it. See. So you go with any mistaken mind. This is what Candrakīrti is now using here. So these things are dependent on the collection of that, are known in the world. We all know that. We all know that there is no reflection without a mirror, without something to rise, right? Without this, there is nothing there. So they are dependent objects. They are depending on me. So here, in English now, if I just want to read to get that meaning, it says empty things such as a reflection that depend upon the collection are also unknown. Unknown.
Yeah, that's the question.
Is it not correct the way you say it?
No.
It is not unknown.
Right.
It's a double negative.
It's a double negative. Yeah, it's a double negative. So you say madapa yang min. Madapa means unknown. Min means not. Madapa yang means people knows it. World knows that. they are dependent. So please correct that in your book. Follow to Madhapa main things. Next line. Chidar din is Suni Sopung is Chidar here like just as, right? Chidar just as Terni means in here, which means in the world, where things are already unknown. Yeah, like it, which is the world. Just as Terni is Sunye So, right? Sunye is a reflection and so forth. So forth. Tongba is like Tong is empty. Tong is empty. You see Tong, right?
Yes.
Tong, now you have to add see Tong, that is empty. Tongba, it means that Tong empty. Le means from. So Chidar Ten Suni So Tong Les. If I read that English to you on the PT. Yeah, very last line in English, I think that means from empty reflection and so forth. I don't know what you're getting at. Anyway, this means is what? Reflection itself as being empty of actual face. Isn't it? Reflection is not face. It's empty of being face. It's not face. It's there, but it's empty of being face. So this is what Candrakīrti is saying. Reflection so tong des. But from that emptiness, from that empty, Sheva means now last line. See, Sheva means mind, consciousness, or here what do you use?
Awareness.
They use awareness. Okay. Anyway, so awareness means eye consciousness, or nose consciousness, or any consciousness, and any consciousness. Sheva. Te number means te means its. Te means its. Number means aspect. Means the aspect of reflection. As a face. Number, an aspect. Che means arise. Che means become. Right? Che means basically it arises. And you see last line say tar means like. Tar means like that. So he's basically giving us an example. So see, reflection is empty of face. It's not a face. But reflection is dependent on face. It is dependent on persons. It's also dependent on other objects such as mirror and others. However, it is not a face. It is empty of it. But depending on a face, there is an eye consciousness arise, perceiving the reflection as a face. So basically what Candrakīrti is saying is, see, reflection do not exist as a face, but they can still able to, by relying on a face, there is still mind that perceive that reflection as a face can arise. This is one example. Now, next line you see, you go to the meaning actually here. Deshin, right? Like that, like this, like as it, maybe deshin is as it. Mobo tamje means mobo is a thing, tamje is all things, all things. Mobo tamje. Tong na yang, tong means empty. This is a reference to what? Empty of inherently existence. Empty of inherently existing. Tong na means if, yang means even. Even they are empty of inherently existing. Even everything, all the things are empty of inherently existence. Next line. Toni thale. Toni is emptiness. Tha means like those. You say that, right? Those, Le means from. Basically saying that from being empty of inherently existence means that. Toni tha le means from being empty of inherently existence. Rabdu chevajur means that, correct, Rabdu means well, arise. It arise, means is what? even they are empty of inherent existence, they are a mind arise which perceives this thing and that thing, still can able to arise, very well. Very well. So what, again, one more time repeating the actual meaning, saying that all the things, yes, are empty of inherent existence. Even they are empty of inherent existence, from being empty of inherent existing, there could be many minds that can arise, perceiving that object, realizing that object very well. So it does not depend on, rely on having or being exist inherently order to function, order to arise. What they argue with you. They're saying things do need to. Remember earlier I said it, what Madhyamika Tandrika says that if things do not exist inherently, how it can arise. Now here Candrakīrti is saying even they do not exist even they are empty of inherent existence, from being in the state of empty of inherent existence, they still can arise from their causes. They still can arise, there are still many mind can arise from perceiving that objects. So arising from the causes, arising could not depend on exist inherently. This is what Candrakīrti is answering to. Okay, so maybe any thoughts you have? Otherwise we'll stop here. Yeah.
When he says Raputo or Lord, he means, you're saying that he means minds or
Things
things that
both.
in fact
Yeah.
arise.
Arise. Yeah, things arise.
Conceptions.
Yeah, things arise from their causes, and the mind that perceiving things can be arises. Because as long as there is a mind that perceiving things can arise, then things should arise.
So conceived things arise based, even though they are empty, things that are conceived of arise based on a mind that
Perceives.
that has perception.
Yeah, because it is one of the relationships that we, whatever relationship that we should know is between the object and object perceivers. Object and object perceivers. As long as there's a object perceivers, and then object should be existing. Otherwise, there will not be any object perceiver. It does not necessarily needs to be possessed by me. It has to be exist. Anything that exists, there must be perceiver of that object. Otherwise, that object cannot be existent. So, and this is all talking about the relationship between, we call Yu and Yu-Chen. Yu is the object, and Yu-Chen is the perceiver of that. So it's subject perceiver, right? So that's why what Candrakīrti is pointing here is that he mainly talk about arising mind that perceiving the object, means is already pointing, is already saying things arise, because they are a perceiver of that object, of the things. Otherwise, if that does not exist, there won't be any perceiver of that. You see something?
Yeah, because I used to contemplate. It's a phrase says, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound?
It does make sound. It doesn't matter.
Even though there's no one to perceive it.
How do you know there's nobody there to
But
perceive
I'm
it?
saying, if a tree falls and nobody, this is how we used to contemplate these thoughts.
No,
There is a sound.
Of course.
But you're just saying if there's not a perceiver, then it doesn't exist.
Yeah. There must be some perceivers. It not necessarily has to be present there.
Birds.
Yeah, birds, anyway.
Okay.
It not necessarily. No, yes, please.
I have the reflection, the example of reflection. So what is the reflection?
Reflection.
What
Based,
is reflection?
here. The reflection, what appears on the mirror when I look at it.
Right.
That's a reflection of my face.
That-
So here what Candrakīrti is pointing here is that there are a mind, wrong mind, there are a mind is correct mind we develop based on reflection. Some people see reflection as a reflection. Some people see reflection as a face. So if I develop the mind perceiving or seeing the reflection as my face, it's wrong mind. Simply it's a reflection, it's not my face. It's not my face. Some people know that and say it is a reflection and develop mind and perceiving reflection as a reflection, not as a mind. That is a correct mind. So here, however, this is not the main point of what I'm trying to share. The main point here, what Candrakīrti is saying is that type of mind have the aspect of reflection, which arise, even reflection itself is not a face. Even reflection itself being as empty of face, still can generate, still that mind arise that sees or perceives that reflection as a face. Even reflection is being always empty of face. So here what Candrakīrti is saying is, point here is, main point here is, yes, they do arise, but it not necessarily it has to exist as that. So things arise, mind arise, even it does not have to exist in them as inherently existing. In meaning that's the meaning.
But it's dependent on the face, right?
Absolutely. Same as when I develop any correct mind based on empty of inherently existing, they are also, that mind is also dependent. So here, the actual really point here is everything is dependent, nothing is not dependent, but not necessary to see or to, not necessary at all to have anything that exists inherently for us to perceive, for us to function, for anything to arise. The Candrakīrti is the main point then. Here what Madhyamika Sarvatantrika says, if things do not exist inherently, how it can function, how it can arise. And Candrakīrti is saying, no, it does not need to arise. If things do not need to arise, depending on existing inherently. They can arise without depending on that. Without depending on that.
I got little, questioning the mind is that he goes into reflection, and then here, in translation, English translation, it comes in just as their awareness of their aspect is so. In particular, using awareness.
I will say it's a mind.
reflection.
I will say mind. I will say mind, other than awareness. Not necessarily see mind of their aspect is generated from the empty reflection and so forth. See Sheba in Tibetan, mind.
So Rinpoche, are all these faulty reasonings though due to simply just at the essence self-grasping ignorance?
Mm-hmm.
So is Candrakīrti leading us then to get rid of that?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
The ground,
That's
and
what
spread the clouds, the great mountains, forelands, sun and moon, seas of the land, and all it does. May all beings enjoy such pure light.
Dedication, please.
All this virtue, man quickly achieve the level of the Buddha, and we get ascension without exception to that enlightened state. May all sentient beings, who are like my fathers and mothers, enjoy happiness. May the lower realms always be empty. Bodhisattvas dwell everywhere. May every one of their prayers be accomplished. May the precious Supreme Holy Mind grow where it has not grown. Where it has grown, may it not decrease, but
flourish forevermore.